Hey everyone.
Hey everybody.
We are live. How are you, Michael?
Good, doing good. Happy Friday.
Yeah, same. Yeah, happy Friday.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have a bunch of questions actually. I think we'll go over a couple today, and then you can continue Monday, and I'll continue Tuesday, of course.
Yeah. Yep.
Other than that, do we have any announcements?
First, I just want to say that broadcast you did on Evan was just really amazing. That was such a cool story. I mean, it was like everything just clicked, right? The light bulb went on. It was just kind of like he saw it, and that was so great to see, on Slack too. He was messaging there, and it was just like, it's just so great when someone kind of sees it. It doesn't mean like perfect sleep for the rest of their life. It just means like they get it. And so their path forward is just like so positive at that point, and it really came through in his wording.
It was such a powerful message. As soon as I read it, I was like, "This is so powerful. I hope he will allow me to share it." And he did. And
Yeah,
it's
that was great.
the same
Yep.
moment again as like Sasha Stevens and her story, and you often
Mm-hmm.
have those like again magical moments that are not necessarily as profound, but anyway, it was really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that said, I want to say that we're working on. I think I know you said this a couple of times, but workshop wise, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
happening soon. We're just putting it together. So I think probably maybe next weekend we can do our
Yeah,
first
that'd be
workshop.
great. Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at some questions here. Let me share my screen here. There it is. And we will start from the top. Okay, so this is from Ellie. And by the way, everyone out there, nothing here is medical advice, just general thoughts and questions we hope will be helpful. Okay, Ellie writes the following. Hi, Michael or Daniel. So the video called Insomnia Insight number 358, Daytime Activity Can Be a Sleep Effort, has helped me a lot lately because you say that sleep is 100% passive and that you can't will or initiate sleep. Just knowing that has given me more success than I have had in the past 2 years of insomnia, 7 to 8 hours in the past 5 days, which is a record. That's amazing. So last night I was kind of struggling to ingrain the message of the video in my head, and I decided to look up, is sleep a passive process, on the internet just to get more proof. And of course, what do you know, there were articles saying that sleep is not a passive process. So I started getting anxious and felt like I was missing something. This article said that sleep is an auto-regulatory process and that the prior activity in the network determines the probability of its entering the sleep-like state or awake-like state. It also said normal alteration and expression of sleep wakefulness is influenced by several factors, including external input and internal feedback. I know that sleep is a passive process because nobody says, okay, now sleep. But this article just makes it seem like you have some control over things if you can change external input and internal feedback, which I think means your environment and the things you do and tell yourself before bed. What is this article really saying? And does it line up with your beliefs about sleep? That's a little different question. A very good one, very insightful. And
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I
yeah.
was going to cut into Ellie asked the same type of question on our one of the YouTube comments, and so I replied back to her, and I wasn't able to open that link that she sent, but I think I understand kind of what they were saying, and I just we say sleep is a passive process. The onset of sleep can't be forced; it can't be willed, and that's a big message. Really to internalize that and really understand it, so that can help reduce sleep efforts, right? Because when you understand that there's nothing specific you can do to make yourself sleep, then you can start to look at sleep in a completely different way. Probably what the article was talking about was that when you are asleep and even the transition to sleep, there's a lot of physiology going on inside of you that is very active, but you really, it's nothing you have to think about because you can't control it, which ascending pathway, turns on and which descending one turns off and which neurochemicals. It's like, you don't control that. It's just happening. So all you have is your consciousness, your willful intentions, and understanding that you can't apply those to make yourself sleep. Then it actually can get really simple, when you just if you can get to that realization that there's nothing that produces natural sleep other than just being awake long enough to let your brain, do its natural thing. That's all there really is. Now, there's common sense things like, you can turn on the radio as loud as it goes and think, okay, well, yeah, that's an external factor that might impact your sleep adversely. These are just common sense things. So yeah, I think, Ellie, I think you understand what we're saying. And you went to the internet and Google searched it, and I'm sure that was quite a journey there. So yeah, I just take a step back. I think, Ellie, I think you get it. And that's just what I'd like to say.
Absolutely. And, as you were talking, I was thinking about other processes, like, for example, swallowing. I'm sure you can describe that in very similar terms. It's an autoregulatory process that's autonomically derived, but it's actively in this. And when you read it like that, it's like, oh my gosh, swallowing is quite complex. And then we think about, now I'm going to swallow, I'm going to do it like this. Oh no, it's not working.
Yeah.
Like anything can become like really tricky if you really kind of like read up on it and think about it, etc.
Right.
Similar with sleep, right? But I guess a couple of things here, actually, very, very good points we can make here. Number one is, yes, I actually did read the article, and I think when they say autoregulatory, yes, that's what they mean. That they mean that it's not something that is willful. It happens by itself, is what they mean by autoregulatory. And external and internal factors. Internal factors, I think what they mean is that if you look at it just from a very basic standpoint, as a neuronal network, then you may be able to predict that if it's been active for a very long time, it's probably more likely to become inactive, or vice versa, like that. But I think it's very aligned with what we're thinking. And it was actually interesting, in the first part of this article, it said that insomnia has never been shown to happen from like an insult to the brain. And in this, in the context of this article, it was to show or demonstrate that sleep is a global phenomenon. It happens pretty much, the entire brain is asleep when we're asleep, and therefore, since it's a global phenomenon, like a lesion in one part of the brain is not really going to affect sleep, because again, it's a global phenomenon, which was kind of an interesting thing. And two more things. Oh yeah. I really want to highlight this one. When somebody says like, who was this again? I forget the name.
Ellie, I think it was,
said, I've slept 5 nights in a row. Like, yay! I'm also happy for that person, but I also want to caution against. Let's see. Let me modify something here. Caution against win-lose. Okay, so when it can often seem like when you slept well, it was a win. Like, I dealt the insomnia blow. I did it. Like victory. That's not helpful, because then you reinforce the narrative that there's a battle and a struggle. So if you just think of it, that's great, and it came from not doing anything, that's very good. And then kind of avoiding the Googling searches is always good. So I spoke a lot there, I know, but comments on this, Michael?
Really good. No, I totally agree. Yeah, that win-lose, you got to be careful about it. Just keep everything kind of, in context. And it's like, had a great night, great. You had not so great a night, who cares? Get on with your day, and you'll start to realize over time, kind of like Evan did, that it doesn't have to impact you. And when you get to that realization, then sleep gets better. So it's like this, it's that paradox. It's exactly right. Exactly right.
Oh, perfect. So Ellie, hope that made sense. We will continue on with, what did I do now? What am I doing? I'm sharing the right thing. Am I sharing the right thing?
Yep. Looks good here. Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm jumping around on my screen. It's from Jake. I'm 16 years old, always slept well for as long as I can remember, started getting anxious about sleeping a few months ago, but I still was sleeping well. About 3 weeks ago, I had 2 sleepless nights on the run, and then my sleep returned to normal. The last 3 nights, my sleep has been really strange. I'm waking up and I know I'm sleeping, but just don't feel like I am, feeling extremely tired and forgetful throughout the day, which is impacting my schooling. Any suggestions for what I can do? I want to say firstly that, you're only 16, Jake, talk to your parents. And what we say here is just like general things that applies to like anyone, any age that has like similar things going on. But my first thinking when I read a message like this is basically like a radar. You think of it like somebody who sleeps well, sleep isn't even on the radar. It's like that person really has kind of no relationship with sleep or being awake at night. It's kind of not even a thing. They just like, time to go to bed. I'm going to sleep and then wake up. But sometimes your brain can get a little bit, worried about things like I'm not sleeping, for example, I'm awake at night, and then it's on the radar. And then you can have things like you sleep a little worse or a little better, but it's still kind of on the radar. And then for some odd reason, for some random reason, it can really kind of start surfacing on the radar. The brain gets like, maybe I don't sleep. What's happening? What's happening? And you start monitoring your sleep. And then it gets these superficial, vivid dreams. All these things can happen. So this message to me is a message of like sleep is kind of starting to pop on the radar. Once you understand that, it naturally becomes like, oh, there's actually nothing strange going on. Okay, I can kind of leave sleep alone. That's kind of my overall thinking on here.
Yeah, and he's 16. It's he's young, so there's a lot of things going on at that age, and a lot of developmental things as well. So you're exactly right. It's that when you start to give sleep a focus and attention, that's when it can get a little bit elusive, because that almost like naturally with focus and attention leads to like some efforts and trying to find the thing you need to do when you were just doing what you needed to do all along. And it's a short-term thing, so I'm pretty optimistic that your sleep will jump back where it was. And I just think that when you start to kind of focus on it, that's when sleep gets a little elusive. And so that's what I got out of that email.
100%. Totally agree. Okay, Jake, thank you. And we will move forward here with our next question, which is from Jen. Let's read this. Hi, Daniel. I started taking an SSRI for depression and anxiety. It was a tough decision, but I finally made the decision to take the medication. I'm not sure if you ever covered this topic before, but what are your thoughts on how SSRIs affect sleep? It is one of the side effects listed, and many people talk about it being an issue for them, especially in the beginning. I'm going through a bout of insomnia, and that started a few nights ago. The hypnic jerks have been pretty relentless. I'm unsure if it is actually from the medication or if it is the normal flare-up of my insomnia. And honestly, I'm a bit freaked out. Just starting taking the SSRI 5 days ago. Thanks for any insights you may have on this. As we are reading this, I'm actively in my brain going over like, do we have a NATO concept? Like there must be one for this, but which one is it? I know I have like in my kind of my bag of tricks, I call it, where I keep like my insights for clients. I have a specific one where I call like I call it just 1,000 things. And what I mean with that is that literally 1,000 things can affect your sleep. A medication, coming off a medication, if you eat Snickers or Mars bars, if you brush your teeth with your left hand or your right hand, if you all kinds of things can have some impact on your sleep. But what really matters are just your thoughts. That's what truly matters. Yeah. So I think if you start a medication, that can cause some sleep disturbance, maybe something like that. But like insomnia, like struggling, wandering, jerks, all that stuff. To me, that's always hyperarousal, and to me, it has nothing to do with anything really external. That's my thoughts. But what do you think, Michael?
Yeah. I would ask your doctor, about the medication, and just, that's always the starting point, share your experience with it. But insomnia is ongoing thought patterns that perpetuate insomnia. That's really what it is. And it's the willful attempts to control it. It's starting to notice every little thing that happens at night. And, then those thoughts get like kind of sticky, they're like, well, this is happening. This must be because of that. And then you're starting to kind of micromanage the night. Whereas the night, your night needs just like, the assistant, like you've talked about, the person, just turn it over. It's not, you can't control it. And so, don't try, don't try to sleep. It's just kind of that big message that I think still applies in this case. When those thoughts kind of go back to sleep is not, something you need to focus on, then it usually starts to get better.
We have I want to talk about something called entanglement in the context of this, but we have some live questions maybe here. Let's go with this. Rubaya says, hi guys, I'm starting to sleep better. However, I wonder if hyperarousal will randomly kick in the night before a really important day, for example, my wedding, birthday, or a date, when I really want good sleep. Can that happen? Good question. Yeah, I'll let you start on this one. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, of course it can, and it's natural, right? You're really excited about something, or you can be really upset or worried about something external. Absolutely, that can cause hyperarousal. It can cause disrupted sleep. It's very situational. I think the key when someone is talking about something like that is to, don't start rearranging everything to for sleep. It's just accept it, understand that it's a short-term temporary thing. It's like you have to almost like you can adjust your expectations a little bit. I mean, if I have a big event, when I think back in my life, big events that have been planned for the next day, I never had a big expectation to sleep the night before. I don't even remember how much I actually did or didn't sleep, but I know my expectation was kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to be thinking about this, and it's just kind of a natural thing. So yeah, hyperarousal absolutely can kick in for things like that. Wedding, birthday, these dates, these are great, wonderful things. Enjoy it. It's like enjoy it. So yeah, I nothing to worry about at all.
Absolutely. I would say I agree with everything. And I would say it's completely expected that you're hyperaroused before these things. In fact, that's kind of my go-to example is like a kid before for Christmas. They're so hyperaroused that they sleep very little. Now, when I really want good sleep, of course, then you're even more pressured to sleep. If you want good sleep, then you're more pressured to sleep. And Rubai says here, how will I be able to control that hyperarousal when my brain really wants deep sleep? Now I can go without having a fresh face, but I know the night before my wedding, for example, I will be hyperaroused. I think to me, the key here is like, how will I be able to control the hyperarousal? And when you are thinking in those terms, like it's kind of like, this is like what I call anticipatory insomnia. When you know something is about to happen and you're probably going to be hyperaroused and you think, how can I control that or prevent that? The problem is that it cannot be controlled, and the more you try to control it, the more hyperarousal you'll get. So let's say it is your wedding. I would say just find that evidence. Know with deep inside you that even if you literally are up the whole entire night, you will still have the most amazing day of your life because you're so excited about that, And then when you go to it like that even if I literally am up the whole night, I'm still going to have an amazing wedding day. I'm not going to control anything. Then sleep will much easier come to you. And if it doesn't come to you that much, then it's still okay. When you have that low pressure thing there, you'll do great.
Yeah. When you can pinpoint it to something like that, a big event, something when it's like really identifiable, it just is, and focus on enjoying the moment.
100%. Ellie has a nice message for us. I would like to share with you guys a little story with my insomnia. I will email you guys my story. Hopefully it can help others. Great job. This is very encouraging. I think Ellie probably has something nice to share. You can just, you can email it or you can send it to that link that has like questions. Even if it's not a question, you can just send it there. It'll be amazing. We're super grateful, Ellie. Hope you can't get enough of that. And Lynn says, micromanage the night. Good phrase. That's what we do. Never looked at it that way. That's a good one. Very good. Did you say that, Mike? I think you must have said that right now.
I don't remember. I don't know. Yeah, it makes sense.
Micromanage the night. 100%. Micromanage the night. That does not help.
Oh, yeah. And turn it over to the personal assistant.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. Yeah. Turn it over to the assistant. Exactly. Yeah. Perfect. All right. Let's go back here. We will look at our next question, which is from Judy. Judy, I actually shortened this message a little bit so we could kind of get to your question, but I remember the mid part, which I'll try to fill in a little bit. So Judy says, hi, Daniel, it's me, Judy. First of all, I'm so thankful that your videos popped up on my YouTube site when I was searching about recovery for insomnia. Your videos are really helpful, but there's sometimes I'd like to know if I'm doing right in a way or not. My experience started in September 2020. Nothing stresses me out at that time, but during those times, there was a big change in my lifestyle since I was a teacher and quarantine started, and then everything changed to a virtual setup and less contact with the students. So I kind of cut out a little bit portion in the middle where Judy shared that she had kind of like tried CBTI, and there was some stresses with her sister snoring and things of that nature. But I think overall things had actually started to go well for Judy. So let's continue reading here. I was inspired by Michelle's success story. I learned a lot from what you said, that frustration, hopelessness, and anger are a blockage. Aside from that, I realized that what you said, if I care less, I sleep more. That night, the day I watched your video until today, I applied your advices, and I was really doing good. I can wake up at 4 or 5 a.m., get 8 or 9 hours of sleep, even with 4 awakenings, and I really care less. Even my sister snores, and I wake up in the middle of the night. I just place my earplugs properly, go back to sleep. My question is, am I doing it right, Daniel? What improvements can I do more to improve and get better? I'm afraid this would prolong that my work will also be affected because of the struggle. I would like to lessen my multiple awakenings and make my sleeping in a natural way. I stopped the CBT since I feel like it was really controlling everything. I only chose to follow the fixed time of sleeping and waking up, exercise 30 minutes in the morning. Thanks in advance for your advice. Anytime. I'm super happy that you're doing better, Judy, and thank you so much for sharing this. And oh, by the way, Rubak says, thank you. Any tips to let go, as can be harder than just not stressing? However, that you both said makes total sense. Yeah, it's tricky, but when you get it like this, it's perfect. Thanks so much for the support there.
Yeah, thank you.
And okay, so Judy here, basically, this is a story of starting to sort of let go, try less, sleeping better, but still has a little bit of concern, some wake up, etc. I'm wondering, like, how can I kind of take the next step, if you will? It's a kind of a common question here. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, well, just sort of the low-hanging fruit initially. The snoring family member, that person should talk to their doctor about their snoring if it's loud and disruptive, and you observe not breathing. So that's just kind of like, that would be an easy thing to just kind of like try to take care of. But CBTI can be pretty strict, and that can be very problematic. That's usually why people, drop out of it when they start it, because they feel like it's causing so much pressure. The sleep window is kind of like this pressure packed, 6 hours or whatever it is every 24 hours. And so, as soon as it's over, some people start to get anxious about it just right away. Like all through the day, they're thinking about their sleep window. Got to do this, got to do that. And, that's problematic. Obviously, that's going to drive the insomnia. So, I think taking just like a bigger picture with your sleep, morning consistency, fantastic. Bedtime, it's kind of more introspective. It's not focusing on the clock, get the clock away from everything all night long. I think the timeless night, definitely something. There was a comment about waking up at 4 or 5 or something like that. So I'm thinking maybe there's some clock monitoring going on there. I think it's a really helpful thing, simple strategy. And then, just allowing yourself to go through the night in a very natural way. And if, the last thing that you want to be doing, if you want, something not to do, is to be in bed, flat, light off, trying to force sleep. That's what behaviorally, that's what you don't want to do. That's kind of it. So, enjoy anytime you're awake at night. Teach your brain that being awake at night is not just okay, it can be enjoyable. And when your brain starts to get that message over time, then the awakenings become fewer. And I think she mentioned, I think, like waking up like 4 times or something at night. There's no way to know how many times you wake up, and everyone wakes up multiple times every night. So it's not like the key becomes how you react to being awake at night, because everyone does. I woke up last night. I probably woke up 20, 25 times, probably, maybe even most of them were probably brief, roll over a little bit or something like that, but probably at least 20 or 25 times. I consider myself a pretty good sleeper. I don't struggle with sleep. But how many times do I think I woke up last night? I think I can remember like maybe 2. That's just a classic example of a very human thing, is to not remember nighttime awakenings. So if you find yourself awake at night, first, remind yourself it's normal, completely normal. Second, decide how you're going to react to it. Turn the tables. Just be like, I don't know what time it is. I just know I'm awake. Okay, I'm going to do something I like. Enjoy it. Go watch a movie, go read, go do a crossword puzzle, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter if you're in bed, out of bed, doesn't matter. You're just going through the night methodically. And then in the morning at a consistent time, maybe with alarm clock, maybe with the sunrise, you just start your day, just get your day going. And that kind of approach to the night, I think, can be helpful.
I think, yeah, absolutely. All those, totally agree with all that. And I want to say that, like, my kind of global kind of take on Judy's message was in fact that she was doing really well. I think she had applied a lot of what we teach here, and it was just kind of like, okay, how to take the final step. And my thinking there is that just think about the fact that the what led you to sleeping much better was actually being more okay with being awake at night and letting go. And the step towards, like, the next step is just more of the same. It's really just more of the same. It's like, check the clock even less. If you wake up, stop checking how many times, stop even like monitoring how many times you wake up, like you're deploying more in that, and you're doing really good. And I think, just to finish off here with something saying like, a very common question is actually kind of like, am I doing it right? And I learned this from Saki Stevens. She writes in her book, which I think is Bedtime Stories for Insomnia. She says, like, when somebody asks me, am I doing it right? Then I say, no, you're not, because you're wondering if you're doing it right.
Wondering.
Exactly. When you no longer wonder if you're doing it right, you'll do even better.
Yep.
Cool. Neil has a long message for us. Let's read it.
Hey, Neil.
Hey, Neil. Hey, guys. I found in the past 2 weeks, I couldn't sleep for more than 2 hours in the morning, even with all education and me knowing exactly what to do, or more accurate, what not to do. There's always this one day, and I can feel during the day that the struggle is over. I'm naturally tired of thinking about it, and things go back to normal. Anxiety just reduces by itself, and I understand that this round is over. And then when I feel love in me and from people around me, anxiety reduces as well. This is actually super important message, which is like, Neil shares there, he understands everything that's going on. He understands insomnia. He understands the emotions inside, but still he goes to stretches where he sleeps very little. But the beauty here is that Neil just deploys awareness. He understands this, and he doesn't do anything in particular about it. And then the round is over, and sleep goes back, and things. That to me is like that's success. Success is not like sleeping a certain amount. It's like changing your relationship with it in a way that even if you sleep little, it doesn't really bother you. And yes, everything is fleeting. Everything really is fleeting. Like unless you maintain it by like, trying to change it, So right.
It's interesting, Neil, where you say, I am naturally tired of thinking about it. That's an interesting phrase, It's kind of like, I think what you mean is kind of like you realize there's no point in thinking about it. I think is maybe what that kind of, in my mind, that's what it kind of translates to. And so, that's exactly right. That's when sleep becomes easy, is when you stop thinking about it. You stop trying, you stop wondering, and you totally describe it in your words there, how that thought process happens. And there's one other thing I was gonna think, I can't quite remember, but that's a really interesting message there, Neil. And it's just, I think, you get it. You totally get it.
I think that, actually, I think I recognize that from when I work with clients, that you often get to a point where you sense that a client is a little bit less interested, starts to become kind of less interested about their sleep. And then I know, like, they're on a good path trajectory. Yes, just happens to me naturally. You kind of naturally becomes kind of disinterested after a little bit. And fantastic.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So let's see here. I think we have time for maybe the last one I prepared. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is from Ren. Let's read this. Okay. Hi, I've been dealing with insomnia for a long time. All began with a move, and I had bouts of insomnia lasting about a week, off and on for about a year. Eventually, after a really bad month, I was prescribed a benzo to take nightly. All was well for a few months. I felt like I had my sleep back and my confidence back, but over time, I started to have anxious nights again, although none were totally sleepless. Fast forward to now, I moved again. I love where we have mood, but for some reason, no matter how comfortable I feel, I still wake up frequently enough throughout the night and can only sleep for about max 6 hours, where I was averaging 7 before. I haven't had a single night of more than 6 hours of sleep, and it's catching up to me. And my brain is thinking of all these terrible scenarios because my medication is not working the same, and I'm not getting enough restful sleep. I feel like my sleep is slowly disappearing, and I'm just so tired. I don't know what's going on or what to do. Thanks you for listening / or reading from Ren. I want to actually right away talk about this concept, which I call the cave. Let's do this. I forgot entanglement.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that?
That was
Entanglement.
Judy, I think we were talking about.
Judy, yeah. I just did briefly, so I don't forget. Entanglement is like when you when something is happening and you think it has something to do with your sleep. It was somebody who was asking about the SSRI
medications.
SSRI, exactly. Something happens, you start taking medication. And in Judy's case, it was like obvious that there was a lot of conflict there. She didn't really want to take the medication, but she thought it was best for her. And she was taking it and then wondering how it would work, etc. So then you are in this hyper-aroused state, which like the brain is looking for, like to problem solve, put things together. Yeah. And you can easily become entangled. Like taking the medication and then not sleeping so much can often become, it is because of the medication I'm not sleeping. That's entanglement. Right. So just very briefly, I just want to comment on that. And now to Ran here in the cave. Let's go over this. So basically, there are many things to talk about, but the one that I really want to focus on is the cave here, which is when you start having trouble sleeping. Starts with the move, for example. It's kind of a little bit stressful. Things are changing. You sleep a little bit less, which, as in, I forget, I can't say the name exactly, but Ruja or something that we talked to earlier, talking about like sometimes it's completely expected that you're hyper-aroused, for example, when you move and you sleep a little bit less. But then the brain, in this state of entanglement, actually, as we talked about, like figures that, oh, something's really wrong. I can't sleep. That's the problem. And it identifies little sleep as like a threat, a problem. And that's where I call like, it gets confused. It's not a real grizzly bear, but it's a kind of a perceived threat. The brain thinks that it's a grizzly bear, but there's actually nothing there, right? And then you start like naturally wanting to get away from it. I don't want to be awake at night. I'm trying to do different things to find safety. And often a medication becomes that safety. You take some medication, you kind of like has the sedating effect. You start sleeping and you found kind of a cave, a safe place where you can hide from the grizzly bear. And you can go months like Ren did here without, not much struggle. The problem though is that you're still kind of in a cave. You're still thinking that I'm safe now because I had this medication. I'm in a cave, but the grizzly bear is still out there, and it could potentially find me again, but I'm safe for now. And then you have another thing, like another move, for example, and now you're not so safe in that cave anymore. You're like a little bit scared. And then it seems like here the grizzly bear is coming again, and the cave isn't safe anymore. The medication stopped working. And the sort of problem there with finding safety is that you haven't really dealt with the underlying thought, which is that there is something trying to attack me. There is a threat out there. And as long as you still believe that there is a threat out there, sleep will not come easily to you. So that's kind of my first, I wanted to go over this cave analogy. And there were other things too, but after that. So Michael, on your end, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, what first came to me was kind of like that whole type 2 error. We talk about how the brain is just, it's like always trying to protect you. And so it's always looking for threats. It's like this ongoing, radar looking for threats. And it can identify wakefulness at night as a threat. It can identify, that, and it can make you think that it's real, that it's a real threat. And that can be a real feeling, like a real physiological feeling, heart palpitations or just anxious, or, that almost like you can definitely get like physiological reactions to that. The medication thing, then it's like like you cede your confidence to it. Like you say, okay, I get to my cave with the medication. So that's like a safe spot because, I'm protected. Whether, I think there probably isn't the grizzly bear out there when I'm thinking logically, but then at night I'm kind of thinking it could still be there. And so this medication kind of keeps things safe, but that's not really a long-term solution. The solution is to learn and fully understand that there is no grizzly bear. That's the solution, you know, but it's not it's not as simple as just swallowing a pill. It takes thought change, and that thought change can take a little bit of time. It can take education, and really kind of a big picture kind of approach to the whole thing. And then you will learn that there is no threat. And when you learn that, then you're at that natto state, right? Then you're kind of like, yeah, there's no threat. Wakefulness at night is not a threat. So yeah, the cave analogy I think is really good. I think it really makes sense in this case.
Well said, Michael. And I guess I don't know, leave you with something practical here. And well, I think this was actually very practical. I mean, this is like, understanding is the key, but I think one more kind of smaller thing to point out is that, you know, you're actually sleeping about 6 hours, which a lot of people on the channel would be like so happy with that, right? But you're comparing it with sleeping 7 hours, which we did before. And I think a simple little thing is just like kind of like stepping away from like checking how much you sleep could be something very, very, very helpful. And then again, learning more, which you can do on this channel, will be really helpful for you too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see some comments here from Jake. He says, thanks for the advice. The night that fall, the email was a sleepless night. Last night, it took me 2 hours to sleep, but I'm feeling optimistic. I'm still feeling okay. Might see my GP soon. Sounds good. Sounds very good. You know, I'm very encouraged by the fact that Jake, you know, slept very little, but there's not much of a reaction to it. It's like, and that happens when you understand it, you know, when you understand that there is no threat, etc., then there is much less of a reaction, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we will conclude there, and I'll just say, anyone that wants to work more with myself and Coach Michael, check out our self-coaching master program, which in fact I have a drop-in class, which I'm going to do. Really excited about today's drop-in class. We have Evan actually in our self-coaching program, and I know he's going to be there, and some other students as well. And if you have any questions, you know, drop a comment or drop a line to us there. So yeah.
Yeah, great question today. Really interesting.
It was very, kind of varied amount of topics today. So
yeah.
Okay, we'll call it
everybody.
See everyone back next week.
Yeah, thanks for your questions, everyone. Have a good weekend.